He thought he had the perfect story. Calm voice, steady hands, direct eye contact, no panic, no hesitation. But interrogations aren't about what you say. They're about what you can't control. Watch his breathing. Watch his hands. Watch the exact moment his confidence slips. Because this interrogation didn't fall apart in an hour. It fell apart in seconds. And he never saw it coming. At 6:42 a.m., Daniel Harper calmly called 911. "My wife didn't come home," he said evenly. "She went for a walk last night." No panic, no shaking voice, just control. Officers arrived within minutes. The house was clean. No forced entry, no broken glass, nothing disturbed. Daniel explained they'd argued about bills. "Nothing serious," he added quickly. "She just needed space." Detective Laura Mitchell noticed something unusual immediately. Daniel spoke in past tense. She was stressed. She didn't handle pressure well. People with missing spouses usually cling to present tense. Daniel didn't. When asked the last time he saw Emily, he answered instantly. 10:10 p.m. She grabbed her jacket and left. He remembered the exact minute. But then a neighbor's security camera revealed Daniel's truck leaving at 10:17 p.m. alone. When confronted, Daniel blinked repeatedly. "Oh, I went looking for her," he said. He hadn't mentioned that before. He claimed he drove for 15 minutes. Footage showed over 30. Inside the home, Emily's purse and phone were still there. Why leave without them? Daniel paused. She must have forgotten. Another weak answer. But what bothered Mitchell most wasn't what Daniel said. It was what he didn't say. He never asked how the search was going. Never asked if dogs found anything. Never asked if someone saw her. He only explained. By noon, Mitchell asked him to come in for a formal interview. He agreed immediately. "I want to help." But as he walked back into the house, Mitchell saw it. A brief exhale. Not fear. Relief. And that's when she knew this interrogation would matter. Daniel sat calmly under the fluorescent lights. Detective Mitchell began gently. "Tell me about last night." His story came out smooth. Rehearsed. Argument. Emily upset. Walked out. He stayed home. Waited. Fell asleep on the couch. But as the questions narrowed, the cracks appeared. "What were you wearing?" He hesitated. "A gray shirt, I think." Security footage showed a black hoodie. "Why didn't you mention leaving in your truck?" "I forgot," he said quickly. People don't forget driving at night looking for their missing wife. Mitchell shifted tone. "You checked the park?" "Yes." "Which entrance?" Pause. "The main one." "There are 3. Daniel swallowed. "I don't remember." His breathing changed. Subtle at first. Faster. Shoulders rising slightly. Mitchell slid a photo across the table. Emily smiling. Taken 2 days earlier. "When was this?" Daniel stared too long. "Last week." It was time-stamped 48 hours earlier. He didn't notice. Mitchell leaned back. "Daniel, is there something you want to clarify?" His jaw tightened. "No. I've told you everything." But his body disagreed. He crossed his arms. Defensive. Tapped his foot. Restless. Avoided eye contact when asked direct questions. The calm husband from this morning was fading. Something else was surfacing. And Mitchell saw it clearly. He wasn't grieving. He was calculating. Detectives reconstructed Daniel's night. Truck left at 10:17 p.m. Returned at 11:02 p.m. Phone records showed no calls to Emily. No messages. If he was searching, why didn't he try contacting her? They pulled cell tower data. Daniel's phone pinged near an industrial river access point, 5 miles away, not near the park. When confronted the next morning, Daniel shifted in his chair. "I must have driven around." "Why there?" Silence. "I don't know." Mitchell noticed something important. Every time the river was mentioned, Daniel's throat moved. He swallowed hard. His hands, once steady, now trembled slightly. "You said you were home all night," Mitchell reminded him. "I was mostly home." Mostly. The language was changing. Details blurred. Memory gaps appeared. But one thing stayed consistent. He never asked if Emily had been found. Not once. By afternoon, search teams were dispatched to the river area. Daniel was asked to stay. He agreed. But this time, he didn't look relieved. He looked trapped. The second interrogation began at 3:10 p.m. Daniel's posture had changed. No longer upright, now hunched. Mitchell presented phone location data. You were here. She pointed to the map. Daniel's leg bounced rapidly. That's not accurate. It's from your provider. Silence. Then frustration. You're twisting things. His first emotional reaction. Mitchell remained calm. We just want the truth. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. Room temperature hadn't changed. When did the argument start? Mitchell asked. He paused longer this time. After dinner. Earlier, he said before dinner. Another shift. Another inconsistency. Mitchell leaned forward. Daniel, did Emily fall? The word hit him. Fall. His breathing spiked. I didn't push her. Mitchell hadn't said push. He had. The room went quiet. Daniel realized it instantly. His eyes widened. Too late. The calm mask cracked completely. And now the interrogation was no longer routine. It was unraveling. Daniel tried to recover. That's not what I meant, he said quickly. Mitchell didn't interrupt. Silence is powerful. After 10 seconds, Daniel filled it. We were arguing near the stairs. There it was. A location he hadn't mentioned before. Which stairs? Mitchell asked. Back deck. Detectives hadn't disclosed where blood traces were found. But now they had context. You said she left, Mitchell reminded him. She did. But you just described an argument outside. Daniel rubbed his face. I'm confused. His speech sped up. Words overlapping. I'm tired. I haven't slept. Mitchell placed a photo on the table. Faint luminol pattern on the deck boards. Daniel stared. Color drained from his face. That's not blood, he whispered. Mitchell hadn't said it was. Another assumption. Another crack. His hands began shaking openly now. Earlier he was composed. Now he looked cornered. Mitchell spoke softly. Daniel, what happened on the deck? Long pause. Then a whisper. It was an accident. The first partial admission. But accidents don't require lies. And they don't require river access points at night. The interrogation wasn't collapsing. Daniel was. Daniel leaned forward. She slipped, he insisted. On what? Mitchell asked. I don't know. Weather reports showed dry conditions. No rain. No ice. You didn't call 911, Mitchell noted. I panicked. And then, silence. His eyes darted to the door. He was no longer defending innocence. He was managing damage. Mitchell lowered her voice. Daniel, did you try to help her? Tears formed. Real? Or controlled? I checked her pulse. And he swallowed hard. She wasn't breathing. Then why not call? His breathing grew erratic. I was scared. Of what? Police? Or consequences? Mitchell slid another document forward. Search teams found fresh tire marks near the river, matching his truck model. Daniel stared at the table, shoulders collapsing inward. I didn't mean for this to happen. Now it wasn't a fall. It was this. Language distancing. Classic psychological shift. Mitchell knew the break was close. She stayed quiet. Let the silence do the work. Daniel covered his face. And finally whispered. She wouldn't stop. She kept pushing me, Daniel said. About what? Mitchell asked calmly. Money. Divorce. The motive surfaced. He described yelling. Emily threatening to leave. Then what? Mitchell pressed. She said she'd take everything. His fists clenched. Anger resurfaced. She grabbed my arm. And I pushed her. Not fell. Pushed. She hit the railing. The story shifted again. Earlier, slip. Now impact. Was she alive? Mitchell asked. Daniel nodded slowly. Barely. What did you do? Long pause. I put her in the truck. The room went still. He continued without prompting. I drove to the river. His voice was hollow now. Detached. I thought maybe she'd wake up. Mitchell didn't react. Did she? Daniel shook his head. Tears streamed down his face. This time uncontrolled. I panicked. He described leaving her near the waterline, walking back to the truck, driving home, calling 911 hours later. The perfect husband act. But one detail remained. Why the 911 call at 6:42? Mitchell asked. Daniel stared blankly. I needed it to look real. And that's when the interrogation officially broke him. Search teams returned to the river. At 4:18 p.m., they found her, partially concealed by brush. Emily Harper. Medical examiner later confirmed blunt force trauma, consistent with railing impact. but also signs of delayed medical aid. She may have survived if help came sooner. Daniel watched from the interview room window as officers moved quickly. His composure was gone. He rocked slightly in his chair, hands clasped tight. Mitchell re-entered. They found her. Daniel nodded. No questions. No shock. Just resignation. Is there anything else you want to add? She asked. He stared at the floor. I didn't plan it. Maybe not. But he planned everything after. The river. The story. The performance. The interrogation didn't fall apart because of evidence. It fell apart because Daniel couldn't control his own reactions. Small shifts. Small words. Small slips. Those broke him. Courtroom footage showed a different Daniel. Quiet. Controlled again. Defense argued temporary rage. No premeditation. But prosecutors played interrogation clips. Side by side. Morning Daniel. Calm. Afternoon Daniel. Sweating. Evening Daniel. Confessing. Jurors watched his behavior change in real time. Language analysis experts testified. Pointed out shifts. She fell. I didn't push. I pushed. I panicked. Each version closer to truth. Security footage. Phone pings. Tire marks. But most powerful? His own words. After 3 hours of deliberation, the verdict came back. Guilty. Second-degree murder. Daniel showed no visible reaction. Just a long, slow blink. The mask returned. But too late. This case wasn't solved by a witness. Or by a hidden camera. It was solved by behavior. An interrogation doesn't always collapse because of evidence. Sometimes it collapses because a person can't maintain control. Daniel believed he could manage the story. He controlled the house. Controlled the call. Controlled his tone. But under pressure, behavior changes. Breathing shifts. Language evolves. Words slip. Truth leaks. Detective Mitchell didn't shout. Didn't threaten. She watched. And she waited. In true crime, the smallest detail can change everything. A tense verb. A pause before answering. An unnecessary correction. The plan was never perfect. It only looked that way. Until someone looked closer. And that's the frame most people miss. Watch behavior. Because sometimes, the confession starts long before the suspect realizes it.